and welcome to Little Red Roaming. I'm your host, Little Red, and I've got an announcement this week. So I've decided that because I'm trying really hard to grow my channel, I'm gonna offer up a contest. And this contest will go live once I have reached 50 subscribers and 1,500 overall channel views. I'm about halfway there. So if you are interested in taking part in this contest when it goes live, make sure you're keeping an eye on my videos and share them, help me get the view count up, tell your friends and family to subscribe so that we can get that going. The prize is going to be a $15 Amazon gift card. So I don't know when that'll go live. It might go live later this month. It might go live in a couple months. We'll see how quickly this channel grows. Alright, so with that out of the way, welcome to part 4 of my series on budgeting and planning a trip. And today we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of how to actually set up steps to save up for this trip that you want to take. And I have a couple corrections to make. So last week I said that my total expenditure for the theoretical trip that I'm taking to England and Thailand would cost me $2,100. I've reworked the budget, I've looked at the numbers again, and I was mistaken. It's actually going to cost $2,300. So it's $200 more than I had said last week. I think I just did my math wrong, and I wasn't aware of that. Take that as a learning moment though, to always double, triple check your budget at different intervals through your trip planning to make sure that you didn't forget anything or that you didn't, put the decimal point in the wrong spot. All those little details, they actually matter. And while that $200 is more of a buffer money, that's still important to have in there. So, moving forward, I have my trip planned. I know what I want to do, I know when I want to go, and I know how much it's going to cost. How do I get from here to there? How do I save up the money to get to Thailand, basically? So if I wanted to go on this trip that I'm planning, it is about 12 weeks away from today. That gives me 12 weeks to save. How much do I need to save each week? Well, there's actually two options here. So if I go with the base of $2,300 and I'm saving a little bit of money every week towards that, I'm gonna need to save $192 a week. That's a lot. That's a little bit more than I would like to be, putting aside every week, because that'll cut into my expenses and my bills, and it would be hard to get to that number. Option 2 is if I actually use all the credit card flight tricks that I talked about last week as well, which would bring my cost down to $1,100 for the whole trip. And that's getting all my flights for free. Now if I did that, I only need to save $92 a week. So that's a little bit more manageable, but that's still a big chunk of change for most people, and even for me, that's a lot to have to put aside every week. So I'm then gonna look at my calendar and say, okay, so if I decide that I'm gonna plan this trip for next year, that gives me 52 weeks. Plus the 12 weeks, right? So I now have 64 weeks in order, to save up for this. And that'll make it less stressful, it'll make it more manageable, it'll make it feel more possible. So if I were to go next year, my option number 1, which is $2,300, I would have to save about $36 a week. That's not bad, I could do that. Even better if I can do the credit card deals, which if I have a year to do them, that gives me even more time to get all those mileage points and cover my flights for free. So if I do that and I only have the $1,100 cost, I only have to save $1,750 a week. That's a couple of coffees here and there. That's cutting back on my gas, that's, just little things that I have to get down. That's not getting a beer when I go out Friday nights. It's so easy to put aside $20 a week. if you look at your expenses and you find places you can pull back from. Saving up for it shouldn't be something that I cut into my rent or my groceries or I'm starving myself to go. In fact, when I went to Europe, I saved for 6 years. I know, that sounds crazy, but I planned and I saved for 6 years. This was my first international trip. I knew it was going to be huge, and I wanted to make sure that I had plenty of extra buffer in my budget, basically, which is why I ended up coming home, with $1,500 still. But over the course of 6 years, I also, went to school to be a massage therapist. I bought a new car. I moved a few times. I had several just life-changing things. I started a new career, which I had to, work at to get my income up. Saving over the course of 6 years meant that I was not stressed about it. I had this goal in mind, and anytime that I could, I put money aside. But I didn't, freak out, oh, I can't put 20 bucks aside this week, it's gonna throw me totally off. Travel should not be a source of stress in your life, and you should make your budget work for you. You don't have to go on that trip in 12 weeks. I don't mind waiting until next year to go. That gives me more time to research the country and maybe learn some of the language. And during that time I can save up, and maybe I'll save up more than my target goal, and I'll be able to spend a little bit longer there. How cool would that be? Now we've gotten an idea of how much we need to be saving every week, and I hope you're doing this math along with me as you plan out your trip, because it's such a good idea to look at those numbers and say, wow, my trip is super attainable. I can actually do this. This is easy. Think of it this way. So if you wanted to go to Ireland for a week in Dublin, depending on the time of year you go, if you plan a year in advance, you can probably do round-trip flights, accommodations, food and everything in Ireland for about $800. That's $15 a week if you save up for a year. That's so easy. And if you do the mileage tricks that I'm telling you about, you cut that in half, because the flights are what's half of that cost. So you're talking about $400 for a week in Ireland. And if you save all year, that's under $10 a week. You can do this, okay? Pick your dream vacation. You can make it happen. I promise. It's so much easier than you think it is. So now we've figured out how much you need to put aside every week to make this trip that you want to go on a reality. However, maybe you're not really good at saving that money and not touching it. I'm gonna tell you my trick for that. And what I did, I put that money where I couldn't see it. And what I mean by that is I put it in a bank account that is separate from my main savings and checkings accounts. I actually opened a certificate of deposit, CD, with Ally, which is an online bank. They have fantastic customer service. Every 3 months, I'm able to put money into that. So during that 3-month period, I would decide, okay, how much am I gonna put in? And usually it was around $400 to $500. And when my CD flipped, or the term ended and the new term was starting, I would put that money in. And what this does is out of sight, out of mind, right? So you know that you're making progress towards your trip, but it's not in a lump sum in your savings account where the rest of your finances come from. So when I had to pay my car insurance, I didn't, think about the money that was in my CD, because that money was separate and I didn't see it. I only looked at it, every month or two. The other thing is that you get a higher interest rate on a CD. So just having it in there, it's making a little bit more than it would just sitting in your savings account. So in financial terms, it's a little bit smarter to have it in a CD. It's not making much. Interest rates are awful. They're abysmal right now, but it's still a little bit better. So that is one thing that you can do. You could also open a separate savings account and have money automatically transferred in there every week. So again, you don't have to think about how much money is going in there, because it's taken out every week the day you get paid. If you set it up this way, you might not even see that money, and therefore you won't miss it. So that can be another option for you if actually putting the money aside is a little bit difficult for you to do, because you look at it and you say, well, I could put money towards that trip, but I have all these bills I have to pay. It's the same idea as prioritizing your savings and paying yourself first out of every paycheck, which is something you should be doing anyway. So that's what worked for me. And what I really liked about using Ally's bank is that they didn't have a minimum deposit. So I think I opened my account with $50 back in like 2012. And I just wanted to kind of try it out and see if I liked this as a place to put, you know, money that I didn't want to touch. And what's nice about it is that you can't touch it. Once it's in the CD, if you withdraw it early, there is a penalty fee, which is usually some of the interest that your CD has building up on it. So the fee might not be too bad, but it's still there. And you don't want to pay to get to your money, so you just leave it there. You don't think about it, it's off to the side. There's a few simple tricks that you can do to save money, and you can Google, there's tons of videos about penny pinching and saving money here and there. But I'll cover a couple of the methods that I use. So if I'm driving and I'm hungry and I say, oh, you know, I could really go for just like a quick bite to eat, like fast food. Maybe get a coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. And I curb that and I step back and I say, no, 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 that money's for my trip. I'll actually take that money and put it aside to put it in the CD. So that money would have been spent on something that I didn't really need, and now I'm putting it towards my trip because I had mentally decided that I wouldn't miss that money if I spent it at that moment in time. This is a mental trick for me that just helps me put a little bit more aside every week to reach my targets. And the other thing is anything over $50, don't buy it immediately. Impulse shopping is so hard to curb sometimes, but it tends to be where we drop a lot of our money. So maybe you see a jacket and it's really nice and maybe it's on sale, but it's $60. Put it back. Wait a week, wait 2 weeks, wait 3 weeks. If you're still thinking about it, go back and buy it. I did this in Italy, actually. When I was in Florence, I fell in love with this beautiful red leather jacket. Absolutely gorgeous jacket. But it was over $200. And so I looked at it and I thought, I'm not gonna buy that. I knew I wanted it, but it was like a super impulse, like, oh my god, I want this jacket in my life. Now, a few weeks later, Avery and I actually ended up going back to Italy. And we were walking down the street and I saw that same store and I said, you know, I still really like that jacket and I still really want it. And I said, you know, it's gotta come home with me. Because if I don't buy it now, it's not like I can wait another couple of weeks and come back, because it's in Italy. So I bought the jacket and it is the best jacket I've ever owned. It is my favorite and I wear it all the time. You know, all my friends and family know, oh, that's the Italy jacket, and I love it. So that was a really good purchase. It was expensive, but it was worth it. So hold back. Like, don't buy things immediately when you fall in love with them. Wait a little while and see if you still really need or want that item. With the other tip, if you don't end up buying it, take that money and put it towards your vacation. Anytime someone asks you what you want for your birthday, what you want for Christmas, tell them you would like contributions towards your trip. Tell them, you know, cash for your trip or gift cards to like REI to get gear for your trip, anything that you'll need, stuff like that. Tell your friends and family that you're doing this trip and they'll do what they can to support you in various ways. Breaking down the cost of the trip to $20 a week, you can find ways to bring in that extra income or to just cut your spending. Most people can cut that and get down to there. Whether it's cutting out alcohol, whether it's cutting out a coffee every day, or making your coffee at home, making one lunch at home a week. You know, if you go out to lunch with your coworkers and you're gonna spend $15 to $20 on a lunch, right? Don't do that. Bring your own lunch. pack a lunch. Little lifestyle changes like that you kind of remind yourself, yeah, this is so I can go on that trip that I really want to take. They're so important, and they add up. Even little tiny changes that save you a quarter or a dollar here and there, they do add up over time. Especially if you only need to put 20 bucks a week aside. Or, to be more exact, $17.50 is what I would need for the trip that I was looking at on there. Or the Ireland trip where it's less than $10 a week. Like, you can do this. I promise you. It's so easy. It's so easy to make these dream trips a reality. I can't count how many times people look at me when I say that I've been to 11 different countries, and they say, how do you afford that? I say, well, I make it a priority. You know, and when you make something a priority in your life, you're gonna make it happen. So I could go on and on and on about different ways that you can save money, cut your spending, and make these trips a reality. But I think we've covered a majority of the steps needed to plan your trip, plan your budget for the trip, and I've given you some helpful tips that I use to get to that point. If you have any other questions for me, please leave them in the comments. I will be writing up a blog post detailing everything that I've explained in the last 4 videos. I might split that into 2 since there's a lot, we'll see. But I will link that in the description as soon as I'm done with it and it's posted. Again, don't forget, I'm going to be running that contest as soon as I hit my goal numbers. So I want to get this channel to 50 subscribers. We're currently at 25. And I want to get my view count to 1,500. And right now I'm at just about 870. In the meantime, if you want to follow me on any other social media platforms, or if you want to read any of the articles I post on my blog, I will put all of those links in the description below. My name is Little Red, and I hope you guys get to enjoy the rest of the day. Ciao!